Um, all right, and we're recording. Welcome to the MovieBros podcast, your favorite podcast where you come to listen and watch people talk and review movies of today and yesteryear. I am there. Signs with me, as usual, is my friend Mike Valdez,
What's up?
the comedian extraordinaire. Mike Valdez, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, man. So today we're going to be talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem,
Yes.
2023's Mutant Mayhem, and 2007's Superbad.
hmm
So why do we pick these two? Is it a Seth
Well,
Rogen connection?
there's a Seth Rogen connection. Also, I just figured Teenage Mutant, just super bad.
Yeah,
Like
teenage
it's
behavior. Yeah,
yeah, teenage behavior. Yeah. So
teenagers doing dumb shit, getting themselves into trouble. That makes sense.
yeah.
I don't know how we'll get to that point. We'll get to it, but remember, I don't know how old Seth, what's his name? Fuck. Um, the Seth and Superbad. I know they're both in there, but
Oh, they're supposed to be in seniors in high school.
yeah, I don't know how old he is. The actor is in this movie. Fuck, why
Oh,
am I
Jonah
blanking?
Hill.
Jonah Hill. God damn it.
Yeah,
Thank
Jonah
you.
Hill is definitely not in high school.
But he
He's
looks way older than the other two, and
As far as I know, he was like late 20s, early 30s when he did it.
that's
Because
hilarious.
he did Knocked Up first, and he auditioned for Superbad on the Knocked Up set. And if you remember in Knocked Up, he had like a beard and everything. And he was like, dude, if I shave, I promise I look like I'm in high school. And I
I don't know if
guess
did he have a beard
in Knocked Up, yeah.
in Knocked
Yeah,
Up?
he did. He wasn't like clean shaven. And yeah, I remember from like a behind the scenes he told the story. And yeah,
I don't think
and
he.
then you
I don't
see
in Knocked Up.
yeah, Knocked Up.
Okay, so his first movie was 40-Year-Old Virgin, not Knocked Up. Are you confusing those two?
No, no, I
Because he
promise.
did not have a beard in Knocked Up, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, I as far as I remember, I was told that on the Knocked Up set that he had a beard and he shaved it, and that's why they were like, "Oh, if you shave it, you look like you're in high school." So
I mean,
that's what was told.
I think he had like a. Uh, I'm looking at the pictures now, man. I don't remember. I mean, I haven't seen Knocked Up in a long time.
Yeah.
But I remember he had a scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin, and I know
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
doing
he
that.
had the I want to buy this off eBay
Yeah,
or
yeah. Well,
whatever.
I'll just give you the money now.
Yeah, I'll just give you
I'll
the
just
money now.
I'll just
Yeah,
give you the
yeah.
money now. All right. Um. Anyways, so Jonah Hill's 39 years old now, so he may have been
Yeah, he might have
2007,
been.
right?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah,
In your
I think
20s, you can look like you're still in high school, in your
he
early
still, but he
20s.
just looked like shit. Just looked like shit.
I
That was 16 years
mean,
ago. Yeah, and it was 39 minus 16. That's 23. He was 23. All right. I mean, yeah.
that's the thing too is like when you watch a lot of these movies in like high definition, you could see the makeup on these people's faces. Like, of course, you're going to be able to be like, "Oh, this person
Oddly enough,
isn't."
he looks younger in 22 Jump Street than he did in Superbad.
I agree. I
He
agree.
does.
He does look young.
Right. Let's get to Mutant Mayhem, man. Teenage Mutant Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Official synopsis is: after years of being sheltered from the human world, the Turtle Brothers set out to win the hearts of New Yorkers and be accepted as normal teenagers. Their new friend April O'Neil helps them to take on a mysterious crime syndicate. But they soon get in over their heads when an army of mutants is unleashed upon them. 2023's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Thoughts? What are your first initial thoughts when you watch the movie?
Well, I wanted to ask you this first before I started saying what my thoughts were, because you have children.
Right.
You have three wonderful children, as far
I
as I
saw
know.
them. I saw this movie with them with my two older
Yeah,
kids. Yeah.
yeah, which I was gonna get to. I think you saw this movie with them. I was wondering, what did they think of the movie?
They absolutely loved it. They really did. They
Okay.
like from the jump. They have I've shown them the '80s cartoons,
Hmm.
or 90s. Was it 90? I think it was 90. I showed them those cartoons years ago. I don't even think they remember those
Yeah.
cartoons because they were so long ago. But they absolutely love this movie. My son loved it so much, and he is a troll through and through. My son,
Hmm.
like whenever you ask him, "Hey, how was your day?" He'll always say like bad. He'll go bad, and you go, "Why was it bad?" And he was like, "I'm just tired." And he's just he refuses to give anybody their roses. He refuses to give anybody their he does not believe in giving credit where credit is due. Like he does not
Right.
believe in that. He doesn't want to. I don't know what it is with him. He said, but he's just doing it because he knows that's what you want to hear. If he knows that you want to hear good or whatever, so every once in a while, a day will be so awesome, or a movie will be so awesome, or a thing will be so awesome that he'll say like, "Hey, how was your day?" He'll be like, "Great," and he'll
That's awesome.
forget. He'll forget that he's supposed to not say great. Like he'll forget that, you know what I mean, in his mind he's supposed to be like, I'm gonna make you work for it."
Right.
And this was one of those movies. I was like, "Hey, did you like it?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, damn!" I was like,
Yeah.
"Shit!" Like that off the bat, like he was like, "Yeah." And then I asked him, I said, "Which one do you like better, this one or I forgot which other one, Sonic, or I forgot which other movie?" I asked him. And he was like, "This." Like
Hmm.
he was like flat out like, This is it." And it's a very kid thing to do, right? Like whatever
Yeah.
the most recent thing is the best. Like
Yeah. Of
this
course.
is the thing. So, but I asked him like, "Do you like this one better or this one or the Flash?" Because we had just seen the Flash like the week
Yeah.
before or something, and he was like, "This one." Like he was just all about this movie.
Yeah. Well, this is better
Um,
than the Flash for sure. He's right. But
yeah,
I think
okay. I mean, we never talked about it because we were on our hiatus during between
oh
season
yeah.
one and season two. So we
Well,
never reviewed the Flash. I enjoyed the Flash. It wasn't the greatest thing on earth, but it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I don't
no,
think it was
it's
bad.
it wasn't bad. No. I mean, the movie has a lot of baggage considering considering
Yeah,
all the horrible stuff. But like
yeah.
if you go into it as like this is a movie with actors in it and I'm trying to not think of the crimes that this person did,
Allegedly,
it's good and it's
allegedly,
great. I mean, any part
allegedly.
with Michael Keaton was the highlight, you
I
know.
think the only thing that took me the first time I saw the no, I know we're not supposed to be talking about the third movie here, but the only thing that took me out of the Flash was the special effects. And I
Yeah.
saw it the day it came out, and then like right after I saw it, like half an hour after I saw the movie the first time, I read the director like on opening day. It was actually the day before opening day. It was like the Thursday. He said that he did the effects on purpose, and it made sense later on. Like I had to
Yeah.
read this. I'm disappointed in myself because as a moviegoer, I should know this as a
Yeah.
fan of as a cinephile. But he said that he did the effects cheesy on purpose because
Mhm.
that's the way he wanted to show the audience that that's the way Barry views it when he's traveling at high speed. And
Right.
I didn't even put two and two together. Like that's why when the goggles go down, the goggles are yellow. That's why there's a yellow tint to
Mhm.
all the like, and the special effects look a little cheesy. But it did take me out of the movie. I will say that I did be like, why the fuck is it so like? There's something weird where the effects aren't bad, but there's definitely not good. There's like, what's
Yeah.
happening here? And it was a director's choice. And once I understood that, the second view, it made the second and third viewing that much better for me because I was like, oh, that's the only issue I had with that movie is that effects were like, I was like, it really threw me off. Like the babies looked fucking weird, like everything looked weird. But
Yeah.
the way he explained it, he's like, that's the way when you're moving that fast, things don't look normal.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense for
Does
sure.
I'm like, oh,
Um, yeah, but I was asking you what your kids felt about Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, because as much as I liked it, this movie was ultimately made for them.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
It was not
so
made
that's
for us.
why
Yeah.
I was mostly wondering what your kids thought, because if your kids loved it, then that means it was great. Because that's the end goal, you
Well,
know?
I would say so I would say this is how great the movie is. I would say contrary to that, the opposite of that.
Mhm.
I say that you could tell the movie's great because it was not only kids love because kids will love anything you put in front of them, right? Not anything,
Sure.
but they don't have a frame of reference as to these are not my turtles, right? Like we have
Mhm.
that we go in and people of our generation, I'm 40 years old, people of our generation go into watching this new turtles and be like, well, I remember when the turtles looked different. And you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's the baggage that we as 40 something year olds have to get rid of. And so if this movie wins us over, it's for sure going to win over kids who don't have any of that baggage, who don't have any of those hangups of like, that's not the way I remember things.
Right.
Which is a normal human reaction to have to. It's nostalgia. This is like a good and bad thing of nostalgia, right? Like we want to go see the turtles because we remember the turtles when we were kids, but we're gonna judge it and hold it up against the turtles that we had when we were kids, even though that's an
Right.
unfair thing to do to both old turtles and the new turtles.
Right.
But it took me, I will say, it took me like maybe 15 minutes for me to get over the art style. Like I fully
Really?
understood.
I
Yeah,
loved it. That was a highlight for me.
I agree. I do love it, but it took me 15 minutes to get over it because at
Okay.
first I was like, this is a little. This isn't like I had a friend. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he brought up Spider Verse. Like, and I go,
Mhm.
no, this is different. This is
Yeah,
different
it's not
because
Spider-Verse at
it's
all.
not Spider Verse in the
It's
sense
not.
of Spider Verse gave you different forms of character
Mhm.
designs,
Yeah.
but this was I just think a grittier, like
It was almost stop
unrefined,
motion in a way.
almost stop motion, but it just felt like unrefined. It felt like
Yeah.
if you're if and I'm not an animator, my brother is. I'm not an animator, but there's if you know anything about animation, at least the little bit that I know is like when you're animating something in the computer, you put it to render,
Mhm.
and it's almost like they were like, stop rendering at 80%. Stop
Nice.
it from don't render the whole thing. I don't want it to look polished. I want it to look
Yeah.
like like the computer froze right before it finished, and this is the end
Yeah.
product.
I think
But
I think that
it was a conscious decision. It was like
yeah, of course.
it wasn't like just little spots here and there. Like this is the way we're gonna do the movie, and it took
Agreed.
me like 15 minutes to go like, yeah, this is just a different style, and you're gonna have to
I
get
think
used
it
to
was
it.
a highlight for me. It was like almost another character in the movie because it
I
was like
agree. I agree. I'm just
yeah,
saying it took me 15 minutes to like that other character in the movie
right.
because
Yeah, that makes sense.
for the
I
first 15 minutes I was like, is this character gonna be in this whole fucking movie?
r
This character is gonna be in the whole movie, and then 15
y
minutes later, you're like, you know what? I do like this character. I'm glad they brought this character along because now I'm enjoying this character. But it did take
yeah.
me a little bit. I will be honest.
Yeah, a huge plus for me, I never thought I needed this. The turtles are actually teenagers.
My friend brought that up too, and this is a point. If you ever hear Seth Rogen talk about this, he says the same thing. He said that it was super important because he's a producer. Seth Rogen's a producer. For those of
Mhm.
you who don't know, Seth Rogen produced this movie, or is one of the producers. And he made it abundantly clear. He said that I need, like, it's ridiculous that this is the first time that the turtles have ever been voiced by teenagers,
Yeah, it was
and
awesome.
which is kind of like, wow, really? Like you never really.
I know, yeah.
And then I go, oh, okay. And then I thought to myself, I didn't really, I didn't know I needed that. Like
Yeah,
it never bothered me before. Like it's never like,
agreed.
why the fuck are there never turtles? What threw me off more so than them being actual teenagers, and I'm glad that they are. Like I don't have a
Mhm.
problem with it. I don't think I needed it, but I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
What surprised me in looking at the IMDb page of the casting is the ethnicities of the turtles.
Oh,
I
yeah.
never, I never like again something that I didn't even realize I didn't know. It's like
Mhm.
every turtle and every voice actor in the past has always been white. And I
Right.
didn't even because they're fucking turtles. Like I
Yeah,
don't put an ethnicity to turtles. But
right.
then when you start thinking about, well, they're from New York,
Yeah.
and you go, it would make
It's
sense.
the same argument with Spider-Man. Like, Donald Glover had a joke about this where he's like, if Spider-Man was a book and it had no pictures in it and it was about a guy whose uncle got shot in the streets of New York, you would have thought it was a black kid.
Right? Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you wouldn't have thought it was a white guy, you know?
Right.
So, like, it's
Yeah.
New York City, man. Like, of course.
But also Spider-Man. If Spider-Man was a book that came out in the '60s, it
Yeah. Yeah, you're
might change
right.
a little bit. It might be
Yeah, it
changing a
does
little bit.
change it a little bit, but
Change a
still,
little bit.
because like, back in the '60s, it was a lot
Yeah.
of white people.
New York in the '60s was a lot more white people. I
Yeah,
mean, but
that's very true.
but
That is
I,
very true.
so I went, whenever I go visit New York in the last 10 years, whenever I've gone to visit New York, I've seen less and less white people,
Of
and
course.
it does make watching certain shows that are based in like Friends, right? Which is
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the TV show Friends, but the more you watch Friends, the more you go, you're telling me there wasn't one person of color, there wasn't one minority in this group of 6
Yeah,
people in New York? Like, what are the I've never seen a group of 6 people in New York and all not have like there's like different shades and whatever.
Yeah.
But same thing goes
It's
for the
great.
turtles. So I never attached ethnicity to turtles because they're fucking cartoon turtles.
Right.
So I never thought about it. But the moment, and I could hear it in their, I know it sounds racist, but I'm not trying to be racist. But it's like
But
when
you're
I'm
right.
watching a movie, I'm noticing. I'm like, oh, this is different than what I'm used to hearing from turtles.
Yeah.
One, their voices clearly sound like children,
Yeah.
and
They
two,
clearly
they
sound like
sound
they're from Brooklyn
and they
as
sound like
well.
they're from New York for the actual.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. That was pretty cool. I thought that was really cool. But I very much dug the movie. I very much enjoyed the movie. I love, and I know this is gonna sound however it's gonna sound, but I love the fact that they made April O'Neil this fat little girl,
Sure.
like this, and I thought that was really cool, and that Donnie was still in love with this fat little girl
Mm-hmm.
because it just makes more sense. And I know that sounds ridiculous in talking about mutant turtles, ninja turtles.
Of
Like,
course.
you know what I mean? Like, well, I want some realism when I speak of these mutant ninja turtles. But it does make it more. It does ground it more when you go.
Yeah.
Oh, there's girls of different shapes and sizes and shades of
And
color,
they're all beautiful. Yeah.
and everybody's beautiful, and nobody blinks an eye. Like these kids don't blink a fucking
Exactly. Yes.
eye. Like it's never. It was never. It wasn't like Donatello was like, oh, she's dreamy, and then fucking Leonardo goes, really? The black chick? Like he's never like he's never. He
Right.
doesn't
Yeah.
care. They don't blink, and I think that's beautiful, man. I thought it was awesome. I really enjoyed that. I thought she wasn't the skinny bombshell. Like April O'Neil
Yeah.
wasn't a skinny bombshell, and I thought that was perfect. That was where it should be.
Yeah. One of the things, I mean, much to the detriment of turtle fans, I mean, some turtle fans, I would assume, it's something that I love and I think is a positive, is this movie is very grounded as a movie about adolescence. So
Sure.
like
Yes.
it's very grounded in like, man, I just want to be a person. Like I
Yeah.
just want to stop not like I want to stop living in the sewers. Like I just want to be
Yeah.
seen as a person, and
And it's
and
also
see
I
Ferris
want to
Bueller
be
and stuff. Yeah.
accepted by my peers. I want to be
Exactly.
accepted, and not just the turtles, but also April going through this.
Yeah.
Like they call her, the nickname that they had for her because she threw up or whatever,
Right.
Barcelona or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought it was very much. I thought that was a very cool. Not a, I was gonna say thinning veil. There wasn't thinning veil. There was no veil there, but it was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it wasn't so much in your face, but it was. I love the fact that it was like, hey, it's a story about adolescence and being accepted and wanting to be accepted,
Yeah.
and all that goes along with it, and your parents being overprotective, having that overprotective parent,
Right.
like, ooh, you have one instance where strangers want to kill you, and all of a sudden, you got to be
Right.
overprotective, dad.
Right. Yeah. They're not going to milk us.
Yeah.
Which is one of the funniest parts of that
So
movie,
funny,
dude.
so funny. I
Like
knew
I
they
was
were milking you. Like, oh, so funny.
at first, what's so funny about that is like I feel the same way about you did with the animation, where like I was like, is this gonna be the running joke about the milking thing? And then in the third act, when they show that milking station, my guy, I was laughing so hard. I thought it was so funny. Like, I was like, it was worth it. The payoff was so worth it. What a great joke.
It's
Like,
all good. It's all
yeah,
good.
there's some really great moments in this movie. One of my favorite moments was it went viral on social media recently, but it's apparently Seth Rogen just let them improvise, and it's that scene when they're like going, let me get a bacon egg and cheese, let me get a bacon egg and cheese, and they're like just doing the
Yeah,
different
yeah,
New
yeah.
York and like, are you hurt, you hurt, like it was so funny to see that, because like you're seeing them be kids, and it's something you forget when you're watching, because I grew up with the '90s Ninja Turtles, like the live
Sure.
action,
OGs, the
yeah, the
OGs, yeah.
OGs, and so like it was very like serious, and like that movie is so like we're dark and the turtles curse and like like stuff like that, And this movie's like, no, man, they're kids. Like at the end of the day, they're kids. Like it's almost like that scene in Infinity War, the I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark, where that's that moment where you realize Peter Parker's a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
where it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot he's a child. like
yeah.
like you think of them as these superheroes, but they're kids. So there was a lot of moments like that. I mean, voice cast was spot on. That soundtrack is so good. Like I love the hip hop soundtrack.
So that's a thing that another kind of resemblance to Spider Verse is that
Mhm.
I think that if you soundtracks are very important in general, but I think with these movies aimed at children, that let me say, these movies that are simultaneously aimed at children while aiming at the adults, right? Because
Yeah,
you can make an all-out kids movie like Paw Patrol, and you're not gonna put in Biggie Smalls, right? You're like
of
it's not,
course.
it's
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I think when you make an animated movie in which the filmmakers are actively not only trying to grab the younger viewers, but also simultaneously trying to grab the 40-something-year-olds,
Yeah.
they they I think it's such a smart move to put in these, especially like 90s and 2000s hip hop,
Mhm.
because it's like music that was so popular back then that
Yeah.
immediately as a parent, like my kids were like, I did the whole thing where I was singing along to Shimmy Shimmy Y'all. I was just singing, and
Yeah.
then they
Like,
were
can I
like,
kick it and stuff? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and they were just like, I was out loud singing this in a movie theater. Like
Of course, me
I gave
too. Yeah.
zero fucks. I was like, here we go, and then my
Yeah.
kids were like, my son was like, how do you know the words? That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
They have
And
no frame
then
of reference as like my dad had a life before me. Like he just did before me. They have no idea. But
but like
they went to then see the movie with my wife like 3 days later. My wife went to
uh-huh.
go see the movie with them. They wanted to go see it again, and my wife hadn't seen it, so she went and she started singing at the exact same moment, and it was like so funny. And I was like, yeah, yeah. But I think it's a
Shimmy
smart move on
Shimmy
the
Y'all. They're
filmmaker's
like, how
part.
do you know this
Yeah, how do
song?
you know this song? I was like, bitch, how do you know this song? Um, but yeah, I think it was
Funny.
I think it was I thought it was fantastic. I think it's a fantastic move to incorporate that kind of music that would both grab the young viewers and the older viewers. I think it's a
Yeah.
smart move.
And not only that, like it's also very it just works with even down to the fact that like it's New York based rap. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So like
yeah.
that even works, because it's like because then there's like also Insane in the Membrane.
Yeah.
There's so many good needle drops in this movie, but like I mean it's great. And the voice cast is obviously incredible. Like why we haven't had Jackie Chan as Splinter is ridiculous. Like
Well,
it's
it's
like
funny because
perfect casting.
he's Jackie Chang is now Splinter and Mr. Miyagi,
Yeah,
and so I find it interesting where it's like is
he's the
okay,
master and
he's just gonna be the martial arts sensei and every like that's it, that's his
everything. Yeah,
and everything, and I'm not mad at it. I'm just like, oh
yeah,
wow, he's Splinter and Mr. Miyagi, which I thought was fantastic.
yeah. I mean, it's like when you realize that uh, Ben Schwartz, the comedian, he
Sure,
voices every character from your childhood that's blue. He voices Sonic. He voices the blue duck from DuckTales. He
the blue one.
voices
We didn't even know his name, the Blue Duck.
yeah, he voices Leonardo from Ninja Turtles. Like, I mean, he voices so many, yeah, so many blue characters. But yeah, man, I mean, even I mean, I thought that the writing was so good in this. I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was a great movie. I even did like the I went to see it on an AMC, and AMC had like this like turtle combo or whatever, and I was like so into it. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna get the turtle drink, which was like this green drink with pop rocks in it.
Sure.
And I was like, I forgot. I don't. By the way, to the listener or to the viewer, don't ever get a drink with pop rocks in it because I forgot they're gonna explode all over you.
Yeah, in your mouth, right? So so the soundtrack, just go back to the soundtrack for it. It says I had the list here. It has Annie Up from MOP, which is I
Yes.
mean that needle drop is so good.
What a great song. Yeah.
It has I Know from De La Soul,
Hmm.
Ninja Rap. I mean they
Yeah.
brought back the Vanilla Ice's Ninja Rap, which I thought was
Yeah.
great. It has No Diggity. That's a song that I was singing out loud. That
Dude,
I
No
was just
Diggity.
fucking
Yes.
jamming out. No
Yes. That
Diggity,
was a
it's
great
so good.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What is it? Shimmy Shimmy Y'all, which I'm convinced Seth Rogen must own the rights to Shimmy Shimmy Y'all. It's in every Seth Rogen
Yeah, it's
movie.
like in every movie that he made. Yeah.
It's in every yeah. So I'm convinced. The Can I Kick It? Trap Called Quest.
Of course.
Feel Me Flow by Naughty by Nature. Still Not a Player by Big Pun. Party Up by DMX. I mean, there's so many good. This
Yeah.
whole um Work by Gangstar, Brooklyn Zoo by Old Dirty Bastard. It's so good, man. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a great album. I will say that two things that they changed dramatically about the
Hmm.
mythos as far as from the 90s cartoons that I
Yeah.
very much enjoyed, and I did not think I would enjoy them,
Right.
was how they changed Rocksteady and Bebop.
Oh yeah.
How they made them not really the bad guys.
Hmm.
They were kind of like just following Baxter, which again, making Baxter Ice Cube just chef's kiss to the
Hmm.
voice work
So
of
good.
Ice Cube. And the fact that they made him the main bad guy, I thought was fucking fantastic.
Yep.
Because I don't think in the '90s cartoon, I don't think that character got the respect he should have deserved.
Yeah,
He was a fucking
Superfly never got anything. Yeah.
Superfly. So it was great, man. I thought it was fantastic. But I love the Rocksteady and Bebop. The fact that they weren't friends. They weren't enemies, and I thought that was great.
Mhm.
It turned out it was really good, man. So
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
um
I was into that, and then, of course, um, I mean, it's obvious. I mean, we knew it was gonna happen, but the stinger at the end was Shredder. Like, of
yeah, of
course, we're
course.
gonna see Shredder in the next one. So yeah, that was pretty cool, that we got to see that.
All right,
So
so Rotten Tomatoes critics have it at 96%. Do you think the
wow.
audience was higher or lower, and by how much?
Oh, man. This might be the first time in MovieBros history that I'm gonna go lower,
Okay, and where do
because
you
I
think
think
it's gonna?
that's really high.
Okay,
But also, critics are our age.
they
So
are
critics are like, "This movie's fucking awesome."
so true.
Like, I um, I'm gonna go 91.
Well, you were pretty close. It was at 90.
Really?
That's pretty
Man.
close. 90. I mean, 90 again. I think you're right on the reasoning why.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know this. It is by far the highest rated Ninja Turtles movie ever.
of course, yeah.
Like it's not even close. Not
Not even
even like
close, yeah.
original live action. There's like none of the other ones. In fact, this is the only non-rotten. I think the other ones were all rotten except for maybe
Really?
the original live action. But yeah, it's pretty
I know
crazy.
the 3rd one's rotten as
Oh
hell.
my god,
It's
that's
the
so
3rd
bad.
one's awful, but
Yeah, I mean, that movie. Talk about the definition of a cash grab, dude.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
technically, they were cash grabbing at the 2nd one, because the 2nd one is pretty rotten in my opinion too, but I
I
have so
love
much
the
more.
second. I love the second one,
Same.
but there is a very clear to me, and I know this is gonna sound ridiculous to say this. It's the difference between Alien and Aliens, which
Oh, yeah. I can
both
agree
of
with
them are
that.
great in their own right, but they're so different from one
They're
another.
completely different movies. Yeah.
And you go, one of them is a horror movie, the other one's a straight up action movie, and they're you can tell, man, you can tell. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 2016 live action one with Megan Fox, Out of the Shadows is 37%.
Of
The
course, the
2004
movie's
the
terrible.
2000 the 2014 version with Megan Fox is 21%.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles 3 um is
11%.
19%.
Wow, that's close.
Yeah. Ninja Turtles 2 is 35%.
Okay.
And I'm trying to find out the original one, and I can't find the original one here. Hold on. there was another one that was a TMNT. It was just called TMNT,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, that one I actually enjoyed that one a lot, but that one
Yeah,
didn't
that
get
one's good.
didn't get much better. The original Ninja Turtles was 42%, but the
Okay.
audience scored it at 81
Of course. Because the audience weren't
because the
critics.
audience, yeah, we weren't old enough to get credit yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the 2007 TMNT was 36%. So like all of these movies, like just as far as Rotten Tomato scores go, it was just hot garbage. But this one was
Yeah.
like, nah, man, nah, that's great. So
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
but I agree though, because like other than like we're setting this up to give these turtles a reason to fight, there was really no story. To whereas like this one is a bit different because it's like there's there's so much, you're giving so much why to these characters. Like it's like, I want to be seen, I want to be liked, I want to be, I and also you're giving more for April to do. You're giving more for Splinter to do. Like it's beyond just like the turtles are fighting and that's the movie. you know
Yeah,
it's there are a lot of fight sequences and they're great, and there's a lot of comedy in it as well, but it's also a coming of age story as well, which is not something we've seen since.
I had I enjoyed, and I didn't think I would because I typically don't, but I enjoyed the fact that the turtles weren't the best fighters.
Yes,
Because they were on
these are kids.
not only are they kids, but they have only been sparring against each other.
Yeah,
Like
they've
in
only
real
been
life,
sparring against
you're
each
not
other,
gonna
and
like some things may work, but you're not gonna know until you really actually get into a fight.
right,
Um,
it's
so
true.
yeah. All right. Moving on. That's the. Oh, what would you give it? What's your rating for? As we don't
I
know, and
mean,
if you don't know.
I'm gonna give it, I'll go 5 no diggities.
Okay. All right. I will go 5 out of 5 milking machines.
Nice.
I'll go
I
five out of
knew
five
I knew
milking
someone was
machines.
gonna say milking machine, so I just
Yeah.
went with
Well,
no diggities.
there's only one other person on this episode, so yeah, that would be
Yeah, I
me.
know. But if it wasn't
All right.
gonna be me, it was gonna be you. So
All right. All right. Yeah. You know what I should have done? I should have gone 5 no doubts.
nice.
Since you went no diggity, I should have gone 5
Yeah,
no doubts.
yeah,
All right, Act two. We're talking about 2007's Superbad. The official
yep.
synopsis of Superbad is two inseparable best friends navigate the last weeks of high school and are invited to a gigantic house party. Together with their nerdy friend, they spend a long day trying to score enough alcohol to supply the party and inebriate two girls in order to kickstart their sex lives before they go off to college. Their quest is complicated after one of them falls in with two inept cops who are determined to show him a good time. So, so many quotable lines in this movie,
Of
so many
course.
moments of this movie. This movie gave us McLovin,
Mhm.
which became a thing for a long, long time.
Yep.
It was like a meme before it was a meme, before
Mhm.
there were memes. So, anyways, what were your thoughts? First of all, you've seen this movie many times. You said.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So they Superbad went on a press tour um through the Vans Warp Tour in the summer. And I met the cast at Warp Tour and got like a bunch of free Superbad swag and was given a free ticket, I think, to a premiere. Like, I mean, they were really trying to like sell this movie to the younger generation. I was a senior in high school when this was happening, and we're really trying to sell this movie. I met all these people, did not know who any of them were, took a picture with them, and now that photo is worth a bunch of money because I have a photo with Jonah Hill, Michael Cera, and Christopher Mintz-Plasse. So,
Nice.
but yeah, it's crazy. Um, and I remember seeing this in the theater, and I loved it, man. I thought it was super funny. And what's crazy is like I was always wondering why the movie was called Superbad, because like it's weird because like when you see the photo example, the photo that's there, you look at what they're wearing, like their costumes, you're like, oh, it's super bad, like it's set in the 70s, like they're super bad, you jive turkey, like, you know what I
That's
mean? Like
hilarious. Yeah.
that's what I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be like a 70s, throwback comedy about, kids just being like buck wild. And it wasn't that at all. So I was like, why is this called Superbad? So even still, I'm still like, why is it called Superbad? But, you know, funny enough, like it's, it works for what it is. Yeah, man. I mean, there's so many quotable lines. It was so great. I think this movie is very funny. I mean, it's one of those like Judd Apatow, like, even though Judd Apatow didn't like write or direct this, he produced it, and like it was one of those like Apatow universe. You can't go wrong. He made the 40-year-old virgin and Knocked Up, and now this, and anything else he makes is gonna work. So it was that time where like any comedy he came out with was just amazing. So that's my initial thought.
Well, I just looked it up as far as why it was called Superbad, and Rogan revealed that Superbad revealed that the title Superbad was dreamt up by his friend Dave
Hmm.
Krumholtz, which is a star of another iconic teen movie called 10 Things I Hate About You.
Hmm.
One day they were smoking weed in their legendary Oakland apartments, and then that was it. And he thought that up. Superbad should be the title.
Nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Um,
They're just
I don't know,
smoking
man.
weed, and he's like, "I'm
It's just
thinking Big Dick Rocket Fuel. That should be it." And then
that
it's
should be the
just called
title.
Big Dick Rocket Fuel.
And then they were like, you know what's better? Superbad. Yeah, that's all. And he posted it in a tweet in 2017. My good friend came up with the title Superbad while smoking weed in my apartments, and I was like, okay. But that's it's so funny how as an artist you put so much thought behind a title.
Yeah.
And a lot of us do.
Yeah.
Like when I was naming my first album, my first comedy album, I was thinking about like even now I'm in the process of like um finishing my second album. Like
Mhm.
it's already recorded, but I don't know what to name it. So I'm going through this whole thing of like, what do I name it and blah blah blah. And then here comes fucking Seth, just smoking out and then smoking weed and they're like super bad. It's like perfect. Let's name it that. Like what the
Yeah.
fuck? What does that have to
Yeah.
do with anything? Anyways,
It's funny how that was an answer, but also not an answer.
it's the most understandable. If you know anything about Seth Rogen and how
Of
much he
course.
smokes pot, you go, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
it. That's
What did
yeah.
you think, Darren?
Yeah. I enjoyed the movie. I haven't seen this movie in years. I saw it today. I was watching today. I was watching it today for the first time, and I would say over a decade. I haven't
Yeah,
seen this movie. I loved it when it first came out. I saw it in theaters when it first came out,
same.
and I thought it was fantastic. It was hilarious. Me and my friends were laughing. I will say that in 2007, I was man. How old was I in 2007? Um, let me see here. 26. So
Mhm.
I was kind of phasing out. I'm Seth Rogen's age, so I was kind of phasing out, which is the reason he didn't play the main lead. By the way, he was writing this movie
Yeah.
when he was a senior in high school, and he was supposed to play Jonah Hill's, but he was already too old to play Jonah Hill's part. Hence why they wrote in the cops. He's like, I gotta be in this motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I really enjoyed this movie, and I remember certain lines that I still say to myself. I'm like, well, I'll just be over here, go fucking myself, right?
Mhm.
So, um, but 2023, it is not aging well in
Sure.
2023. It's aging, and I think the same could be true for most of these, like what do they call them? These super vulgar comedies.
Yeah,
Um,
bromance comedies.
I guess, but it's very much like it's very difficult. Like even like 40-year-old virgin, they had that whole scene of like how I know you're gay, like that whole scene,
Yeah.
which was hilarious
Yeah.
for like 10 years. Is
Yeah.
not hilarious. Now it's just like, oh boy, you got to,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fucking hard. It's a hard
Yeah.
watch. Same thing goes for Shadow How. You try to watch Shadow How now, and you go, this is not okay.
Yeah.
But Superbad is getting to that point. just because of
Yeah,
the.
for sure.
But this is the way high school kids talk. I mean, it's just the way high school kids are. They
That's
don't get.
kind of how I see it, where it's just like, look, man, at the end of the day, like Jonah Hill actually said this when he made mid 90s because he got a lot of backlash for like kids using the F word and like, saying a lot of stuff. And he was like, look, that's how kids were in the 90s. I'm showing a mirror to how kids were in the 90s. If you don't like it, fix it. That's what it
Yeah,
was. Like
I agree
that's
with them
just
though, and I
yeah, I
I, I
agree.
completely agree. I
I
completely agree.
agree. Like that's just
This is
that's
the
what it
way
is.
this is the way it was, and so I'm just saying it threw me off. It's like the whole line when he was like, "You scratch my back, I scratch yours." There's one thing about
Yeah.
the back, it's located on my cock, and you go,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that is not something you say to a woman. But
You
like
can't
but
say that to a girl nowadays. That's
yeah.
fucking crazy talk. You would be
Yeah.
sent home quick, fast, and in a fucking hurry,
Dude,
dude. If a
before
high
he
school
finished the
kid,
word cock, he would hear handcuffs on his
yeah,
wrists.
you
Like
would just be like, you can't, dude. Are
it's
you
located
out of
on my
your
clink.
mind?
Like,
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 just and I love the fact that somebody had to sit there and draw all those dicks.
yes.
Somebody had to sit
They
there,
had to get like art design was paid to
and
do all those
I'm
things.
sure it was multiple people because the styles are so varying. They were
Well,
so
and not
different.
only
There's
that,
no
like they
way
have a whole credit sequence. Yeah.
if you and me draw pages of dicks, we're gonna come up with different art styles. We're not gonna come
Yeah.
up with the same style of dick, bro. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
You're right.
But I like the fact that he was like, my notebook got knocked down, and I hit her on the foot. And he's like, "You hit her on the foot with your dick?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah. There's so much in this movie. It what's so weird about like Judd Apatow movies to me is like
This
the
isn't even a Judd
funniest.
Apatow movie, but it is.
No, I
But it's
know, but like
not.
just
But it is.
in the universe, like in the universe of all this stuff, like the funniest things about those movies are is like the niche, like little things that not everybody thinks is funny are like the funniest things to me, where they're like, like for example, like he's just like they're talking in the lunchroom. This is something so small, but he's like, oh, you think I'm just gonna be like, Josh Henson just eating dessert by myself? And then it just shows a guy eating pudding myself.
So funny.
Like it's
It's
just
so
it's
funny.
so stupid, but it's so exactly what high school was.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm looking at up the director and Superbad. He directed the Seth Rogen Paul movie, the Alien movie.
yeah,
Where he's
he directed
Paul.
Adventureland as well, and he's the producer of Dave. So yeah, he's done
Yeah.
some cool stuff for sure.
I
But
wasn't you know what? I don't think I ever really watched the movie Paul. I don't think I gave it a fair shake, if I'm being completely honest.
I gave it one shot. The
And
funniest part of that movie is Kristen Wiig. Kristen Wiig is so funny in that
I
movie.
think Kristen Wiig is probably the funniest part of every movie she's in, and I'm
I
not
mean,
trying to pander to the. Cause she's fucking that good. Like she's like
but she literally is like the funniest part of that movie. 100%.
we mentioned her in the previous episode about when we talked about Barbie,
Yeah.
and she's the funniest part of Barbie. Like
She's genuinely like so talented. Like she's
legit.
great.
So anyway, so was she in Barbie, or am I confusing her for the other Kristen? I know there's a Kristen Wiig and
You might be thinking of Kate McKinnon.
I am thinking of Kate McKinnon. That's what I'm thinking
Yeah.
about. Yeah,
She
you're right.
played
But
Weird Barbie.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, like Superbad has so many great.
You know, a movie
Like
sucked that Seth
which one?
Rogen did is The Neighborhood Watch. Oh
Oh
fuck,
yeah, that
what a
movie's
bad movie.
awful.
And
Yeah, that movie's
it
awful.
only got watchable when they got to the orgy, and I'm like, all right, I'll watch now. But it took an hour and 10 to get to that. It was so fucking difficult to watch,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I dug Superbad. I'm gonna watch it again. My wife was like, oh my god, I haven't watched that movie in forever, and I'm like, let's watch it again. So we're gonna watch it again tonight probably. But
Yeah,
it's a
she
difficult watch.
yeah, man, that I mean, a lot of the lines that are in it that are my favorite seem to have been like very improvised, which is really
Yeah.
awesome that that they did that, that style became popular. Like a lot of people like the McLovin thing and all that stuff, but like one of my favorite things that they say to Christopher Mintz-Plasse, like he shows up and they're outside of the liquor store. He's just like, take that vest off. You look like
Yeah.
Aladdin.
You look like I like when he says what is it that he called the first thing that he calls him, because Aladdin was the second one.
Yeah.
Pinocchio, because you look like
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio. You look like
Yeah.
Pinocchio.
McLovin, you're like Seal? Like
Yeah.
it's just one name?
Either you have a fake ID or you are a
A
Hawaiian
Hawaiian organ donor.
or organ donor or something fucking funny.
Yeah.
They were so
like,
good. I liked my favorite. I think was just all these lines, all these moments, but him talking to the home ec teacher. No offense, the shitty ass career that you have. No offense, and he kept saying no offense. He kept saying like the meanest thing ever,
Yes.
because nobody gives a fuck about home ec. No offense, just being real, being honest. No offense, and no disrespect. And I was like, wow, so fucking funny. That's a good thing.
Yes. One line that I always quote all the time is the line where Dave Franco is there playing soccer, and he's like, hey, why don't you go pee your pants again? He's like, that was like in second grade, asshole. People never forget. Like,
He said that was 10 years ago. He's
yeah.
like, people never forget. And I thought that was
Yeah,
so
I always say
because,
people never forget.
because that's a thing that really happens. Like, people will never fucking let shit go. Like,
Yeah.
that's just, we'll hold on to any mistake you make.
Yes.
I know this,
That's
but
so,
I dug this
so
movie.
good.
I dug this movie. So, Superbad, Rotten Tomatoes has it at 88%. Critics score 88%.
Wow.
So the game is higher or lower for the audience score, and if so, what number?
I'm gonna go higher.
Okay.
86, you said?
I said 88 is the
88.
is the
I'm gonna
critic.
go 90.
Go to 90. It is 87.
Really? Wow,
Off
that's
by
really
1%.
close.
That's
to
very
critic.
close. Critics have 208 reviews for the critics, and over 250,000 for the
Wow.
audience score. Yeah.
How many are from 2023 saying that you shouldn't watch this movie
That's
now?
good. That is a good. So from 2023, so
This
the
movie's
most recent,
offensive.
the most recent one, the most recent review from an audience is October 16th of 2023, which just happened.
Wow.
And it was it's a 3 out of 5 stars, and it says Superbad wholeheartedly embraces the familiar quote "gotta get laid" teen comedy premise with all the necessary antics and anatomy jokes. Jonah Hill plays the aggro blowhard foil, which is so true, insufferably yelling through most of the movie. And Fogel's journey brings some refreshing zaniness as the film otherwise predictably unfolds. Surprisingly, however, Superbad makes a committed turn to sincerity in the last act. But that's every fucking that's my problem with all these like coming of age movies. All these comedies in general, whether they're rom-coms or whether they're like, hey, look at me making dick jokes like Superbad or what was the other one?
They call them bromance movies because it's just dudes. Because it's dudes, it's heterosexual dudes that are just buddies, and then at the end they like cry and they're like, "I was your friend the whole time." Like I was always there.
Yeah. It's always a weird. And the more what was all with Will Ferrell where they went back to college?
Old School. That's a bromance.
School.
Yeah.
Old School. So all these movies, old school, like all these movies are like super like grotesque and super like, like all these dick jokes up front for the first 2 acts. And then the third act, they're like, and now insert tender music here. And it's like, oh, fuck. Like, it's just like now we learn the lesson. And it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
But
in a lot of ways, like I've been saying this for a while, but like I kind of think they kind of not stole, but like Judd Apatow kind of got
they were influenced
for something Kevin Smith has been doing since the 90s.
Well, here's what I say. I've said this. This is an unpopular opinion. What's his name? The guy you just mentioned?
Kevin Smith?
No.
Judd Apatow?
Judd Apatow. Here's an unpopular opinion. Judd Apatow sucks at third acts. Every one of his movies, his third act just falls completely from what it was. Everything from 40-year-old virgin to This Is 40 to every movie. The one with Adam Sandler where Adam Sandler's a comic and he gets cancer.
Yeah, Funny People.
Funny People. Every third act just blows. He just doesn't know how to write a third act.
Now that I'm recapping all of these third acts, you're actually not wrong.
I've said this for years, and people are like, that movie's great. I'm like, you're confusing a great movie, like the fact that you love a movie, with the fact that the ending was just, and it. I think it's that he takes, oh, now we have to learn our lesson. It's like, no, we don't. We actually don't have to learn. We're here to watch a movie. We don't have to learn a lesson. Not everything is, and I'm not against movies that teach you something or that make you feel like you want to be a better person. Those are great, but fucking dick comedies, like with dick jokes, they don't. Yeah, you don't need this whole like, oh, I've been doing it wrong the whole time. It's like, oh boy.
Yeah, he is.
Big jokes, man.
I definitely agree that it does kind of have to become like, it has to be tied in a bow a lot of ways. Like, even, I mean, a lot of these movies, man, I'm thinking, I mean, one of my favorites, I mean, it's not really his, he produced it, but Forgetting Sarah Marshall, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And like the third act is not nearly as good as the first two acts of that movie.
It's just not.
So like
the part that saves the third act is the fucking vampire puppets. That's literally what saves the third act. Like it really does. If the vampire puppets are like, okay, all right, I'm back in.
Yeah.
That was
You're absolutely right.
It was slipping away from me, and then all of a sudden I got a vampire puppet. Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm back in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I actually really agree with that for sure. Yeah, that I guess it would be an unpopular opinion, but
just because Judd Apatow, like I don't think Judd Apatow is a good stand-up. I've seen a stand-up, and I don't think he's a good stand-up. And whenever
he always wraps everything in a bow.
Whenever
at the end of all of his jokes, he's like,
the setups are really great.
I do love my wife, and
the setups are great, but the punchlines are like, oh boy, jeez. But here's the thing: whenever, especially me being a professional stand-up, like whenever I comment on somebody else's stand-up, if it's not like totally like they're great, then people think I'm hating. And it's like, I'm not hating. I just have an opinion. I just have, and there's a lot of stand-up comedians that are fantastic. There's a lot of stand-up comedians that I like. There's a lot of stand-up comedians, whether they're famous or not famous or rich or not rich, it doesn't bother me. Like but Judd Apatow's stand-up is not good. I don't feel
just because you don't like somebody's stand-up and you're a stand-up doesn't mean you don't think they're a great person.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like, I just don't jive with their work, and that's okay. Like if I knew them personally, like there's some comedians that I don't like their stand-up because we do very opposite things, but I like them as people, and that's, I think, more important to like somebody as a human being than to like somebody's work.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm very good at compartmentalizing.
Yeah,
I'm very good at that. I don't need to like you as a person to be able to give credit for your work as an artist. But I also can acknowledge your art isn't great, but I seem to like you as a person. Like I'm fine with either one of those. I don't need both of those things to be true in my life, but I'm good at compartmentalizing either way. So if you're not going to be a good person, be a good artist.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to be a good artist, at least be a good person, because you can't be a shitty person and a shitty artist. Like, oh my God.
Then you're the worst for sure.
Jesus. All right. So what would you rate Superbad?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of a good like little line here. Another thing we forgot to mention, this was like the start of a lot of people's careers. Emma Stone.
Was it the start of her career? I feel like she's been in entertainment for 1,000 years, even before she was famous. I feel like she's just right. Am I wrong?
No, so I looked it up. This is her first movie. Before this, she was in one episode of a Disney Channel show called The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. And
I remember The Sweet Life.
Yeah. And
I didn't watch it, but I remember that. I remember the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, this was like her first big thing. Christopher Mintz-Plasse, this was his first thing ever. It was that classic, like, took a friend to the audition and I auditioned for shits and giggles and got the role. Michael Cera, he's the one that's been in this forever. He's because he had Arrested Development and like, you know, all that stuff, but I actually didn't know him from Arrested Development yet. And then Jonah Hill had a couple of things before, but really I think the only thing that anybody knew him from at the time was 40-Year-Old Virgin.
40-Year-Old
So
Virgin. And yeah, and like if you blinked, you missed him in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
yeah, it's a very, very
So
short.
she was in Superbad was her first movie. Then she was in The House Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
The Ghost of Girlfriends Past. Then in 2009 she got Zombieland, and I think that's the next big thing that people
Yeah, that
remember
was
her
like
from
the
is
big
Zombieland.
thing.
And then she did
Yeah.
Easy
Unless you
A,
want to
and
count
then
The Rocker with Wayne Wilson.
I don't think anybody wants to count that movie.
Yeah,
except
even
for
Rainn
maybe-
Wilson doesn't want to count it.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure Rainn is the only one who's like, did you guys see it? It was really good, man. It's pretty good. But yeah, that's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was in movie 43, which is hilarious to me.
I love that movie. Yeah. It's great.
I love that Hugh Jackman regrets doing that movie, which is fantastic.
I mean, we don't have too much time, but wasn't that movie like they got people to make it because of like a contract that people signed or something? Like,
I don't know. I thought it was just like, hey, it's a favor to a friend. Like, I just thought I just assumed there was like it was. I think the filmmaker was, I forget who it was, but I think it was like a fellow actor. And I assumed that watching that movie, like, they got fucking this guy, and it's like because I'm sure it's like, hey man, we're doing a movie. Can you be in there for a day? Because there were so many short little.
Yeah, every actor in it was there for a day. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm like, hey, can you just wear these prosthetic balls on your fucking neck for a day? Yeah.
Hey, Chris Pratt, can you get hit by a car and shit all over the windshield?
Funniest fucking scene.
That was the funniest scene in the whole
funniest. No, that's the funniest scene in cinematic history. Like, I just you fucking say whatever you want to say. You could bring up Airplane and Coming to America. You fucking Pratt getting hit by a car and taking a shit on the windshield. I mean, that's just chef's kiss of. As a stand-up comedian, I can only aspire to write something
to be that funny. Yeah,
prolific.
It's funny how it all comes back to like butt and poop stuff, because like
it's all dick jokes. It's all dick jokes, man.
Because like
fart jokes and dick jokes.
To me, the funniest scene ever is Jim Carrey coming out of the rhino's butt in Ace Ventura 2.
That's the one scene I don't like in that movie.
Really?
That's the one scene. You know why? You want to laugh?
That's your hot take.
That's my hot take. You know why? Because the rest of the movie, I was like, everything else was highbrow. Why'd you go low for this? Everything else was highbrow, man. You went low for this.
So
like,
good.
There was no reason to go low for this, man.
So anyways, for time's sake, I will give this movie 4. It's in. Oh my god, it's in.
I would
great
go.
Scene, dude.
I would go 4 out of 5. Dick-shaped rockets.
Nice.
That's what I'm gonna go with. 4 out of 5. I think that's the best scene in the
movie. Definitely a recommend. It's not perfect, but it's a recommend. It's
definitely a recommend. You just got to go in there going like, hey, look, you got to have that disclaimer that Warner Brother has before Looney Tunes. You're like, look, this was the time.
It's a different time.
It was a different time. And this was a time when you could tell a girl to fucking scratch your balls. Like, it's true. I don't know what to tell you, man. All right, so thank you guys for checking us out. Check out the other podcasts on the Geek Bro Network that include, but are not limited to, Better Let Me Tell You, Childlike at Best with my man Mike Valdez, the What's Up Bro podcast, the Mount Geekmore podcast will also be coming back. That took a hiatus of over a year, so we're gonna come back with that, I promise. So make sure you guys keep checking it out. Go to geekbro.net, check out the other podcasts on there. Appreciate you very much, Mike. Thanks a lot. And that's how reviewing movies are done.